Sorry.
But I want to ask, why? Why now?
Why now?
Yeah.
Well, from my view on this, it's because of the cycles, the same understanding that the Mayans have and the Hopi have. The cycles of time, which are connected to different movements of the Earth and within the Earth, and the Sun and the Moon, and specifically Jupiter and Saturn, and all the planets, this solar system. These cycles are coming to an end and a new beginning, which happens on December 21st, 2012. We've all heard this now. And we are so close in these cycles. According to the Mayans, there is a window of time around this date. The events that the Mayans speak about are not just happen on that day. In fact, they have declared that it probably won't happen on that day, but it's going to happen sometime in the window. The window began on October 24th, 2007, and that was the Hopi prophecy of the blue star. And even though it never was announced to the world, you can go through scientific levels and discover the truth of what I'm saying. There was a comet that came into our solar system called Comet Holmes, and that comet exploded and became a huge blue sphere in the sky, and rapidly, within a few days, became larger than the sun. It's now reported as the largest object ever seen inside our solar system. It was a giant blue sphere. It was bigger than the sun, bigger than the moon visually when you could see it. And yet nobody talked about it. But the indigenous people all over the world knew what it was, and they knew exactly what this meant. And this was the beginning of the time when the whole world was going to change from darkness into light, from the brain into the heart, from a whole new way of being with each other, and being with life, and being with the world. And it happened. And so now we are inside this window. The window ends sometime in the end, according to the Mayans, in the end, very, very end period time of November, December of 2015. And then there is the red star prophecy that will come. And that prophecy, probably from science, will probably come from one of the four stars, Betelgeuse, in Orion Nebula, because it's imploding right now, and will probably become a supernova very soon, and we're going to feel it. We're going to actually feel this impact because it's so close to us, and it's going to be a huge red star that's going to appear in the sky.
When I was with Baba Credo Mutwa in South Africa, and he was talking about the red star Mawumitsi that would show up in 2015 and be the sign of the change,
Yeah.
you know, so it's very interesting now. Here I am on the other side of the world, and we're having the same conversation.
Well, Credo is a very close person in my heart. I love him, and I really respect who he is and what he's been doing for the world. And he is also deeply into what the ETs are doing, both in positive and negative moves in the world. They land there, right, for the Zulu. They're there all the time. It's not something that for us. It's about a weekly experience, according to him. And
yeah, we were in the same time I was there with him. We went out one day into the area where the caves are, and I can't remember the name right now, where the Miss Players was found, I think, of being of about 3 million years old. And we were walking back from the caves, and we were in this space, and all of a sudden it seemed like a friend of mine, Apila Colorado from Hawaii, who started the Worldwide Indigenous Science Network, we were walking down this hill, and all of a sudden everything out in front of us turned green, and I turned and looked at her, and her eyes were so green. And in this flash, I mean, it was so intense, it's a wonder we didn't fall out. I mean, we both got wobbly and dizzy. But you could see that there was some whole other dimension, like layered over where we were and what we were witnessing. And it was the most incredible experience, one of them that I think I've had in my lifetime.
Well, all over the world there are caves with very high-level beings that are in them, and some of them are human, and some of them are not human, and but these places are protected dimensionally. There's nothing we could do in our levels to interrupt what is about to occur, and this is a blessing beyond anything we can almost imagine right now of what this is going to mean for us, because we're coming to a time when, at the end of this cycle, when very negative things will appear externally and probably create a great deal of fear, but at the same time there's going to be our brothers and sisters from everywhere that are going to protect us during this time and allow us to make the kinds of changes that we have to make within ourselves. Nobody can do it for us. I mean, we have to do it ourselves. And we're going to remember, because when we see them and we see what's going on, this is embedded in our consciousness.
That's right.
When we see this happening, we're going to go, oh, I remember, I know. And then we're going to go, and then the memory that is going to start flooding through us, and we're going to know who we are, because we're far more than just a human being. We are way more than that. We are a master on levels that right now we don't remember, but we will know exactly how to breathe, how to bring everything together within ourselves, how to reconnect with the outer reality, which is within us, not external to us. And many things that right now it seems hopeless, but it is not hopeless. It is perfect. We are moving exactly the way we are supposed to move. And there is nothing wrong, even though it seems, on a human level, very bad. We have not been forgotten. And we have taken a detour that we all volunteered for. And we knew this detour was going to be difficult and hard. But the end result is that what happens through all of this is not only for all of humanity and for Mother Earth and Father Sun and the solar system, it's for all life everywhere. And this is a very, very important moment in the history of the universe.
You're listening to Peace Talks on Life Conversations Radio with Audri Scott Williams. I'm here in Sedona with Drunvalo and members of the 13 Moon Walk for Peace. And we're having an incredible conversation with Drunvalo, and we're very grateful that he's taken this time to be with us. I wanted to shift the conversation, although it's not really a shift, but I wanted to go into the heart. You know, we think of the heart as this organ that keeps us alive, and certainly it's that. But it's a lot more than that, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Actually, every organ and every gland in the body has a relationship to human consciousness and creates the chakra system and the meridians that run through the body. But there are certain ones that are more important than others. Right now, in where we are now in this very dark place, we think that intelligence is the greatest thing, and that the mind and the brain is what is really important. We also think we're the most important thing that's ever lived and the most evolved thing that's ever been on Earth, which just isn't true either. But yeah, I would like to talk about this for a moment because it's important in our memory. I'll go back to, first of all, I'm going to make a statement, and that statement is that the brain is more intelligent, smarter, has a greater wisdom, and is older and is more primal than the brain.
The heart is.
The heart is. In ancient times, for example, in Egypt, when they mummified a body, they would take all the organs out of the body, and except for 3, and they would put them in these 4 clay vases, and they would be buried with the person. But the brain, the heart, was taken out, and it was the most important, and it was placed back in the body, and so were the genitals placed back in the body. Those 2 things, the sexual energy and the heart. But what did they do with the brain? They took it out of the body through the nose. They actually sucked it out through the brain into there, and they threw it in the garbage can. They felt it was an absolutely useless organ. And yet we have placed complete dependence upon it right now. Such a difference of opinion in just 5,000 or 6,000 years. Let's go to the heart for a moment, and we'll go to science and what they now know. If you go into some of my books, like the Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, in there we show that the life begins as a sphere, which is the ovum, and then it divides into two through mitosis, and then it divides into four, and when it does, it forms a tetrahedron, which is one of the sacred forms. And then it goes from 4 to 8, and it forms a star tetrahedron, another one, which is actually also a cube. And then it continues to move until it reaches 512 cells, and where it becomes what is called a toroidal field, one of the most sacred forms of all, and it's hollow inside. And this ultimately becomes our body. And it continues to move, this toroidal field, and what it actually becomes is the human heart. And so there is a place that we all went through when we were in our mommy's womb, where we were a human heart and nothing else. We didn't have a brain. We didn't have arms and legs. We didn't have anything. We were just a heart, and it began to beat. Science could never understand how the heart could beat when there was no intelligence. But it was HeartMath in Stanford who discovered that there's actually a brain inside the heart. It's small. It's made of only 40,000 cells, but it's made of brain cells, not heart cells. And so the heart has its own intelligence that allows it to begin life without anything else. And then there's a stage where the human body comes out of the heart. It emerges out of it. And we have our brain and our arms and our legs and everything else. And then the heart is pulled into the body, just like the Egyptians did thousands of years ago, and was brought back into the body. And we began our life in what we normally think is true. But from this image, you can see that the heart is more primal than the brain and more important, because it was the first stage of development that we all went through. Now to go into another level, in the Bible and in other holy books in the world, they recognize that there was a time of the Great Flood and the fall of humanity from a time when we were much different than we are now. And in a lot of the books, it's written about as dimensional drops, that we fell from higher dimensions down into this lower dimension here. There's different ways of looking at it. But the simplest way was all we did was we moved from our heart to our brain. And that was what the fall was. We just moved a few inches away. And from there, for the last 13,000 years, we've been living in our brain. And we've forgotten about our heart. We don't remember it. And that is what an ascension that so many people are talking about now, that's all ascension is moving back from dropping the brain, leaving it completely 100%, and moving back into the heart. And living there, actually seeing through our eyes from the heart, not from the brain. You can do this. We have done it before, and we can do it now. We know exactly how to do it, and so do you. It's just it's a memory, and it will come back at the right moment. And so the heart has a sacred place inside of it that's recorded in many of the ancient books of the world, and it's called the sacred place of the heart, and it's in two parts. There's an inner part and an outer part. And the outer part is when you enter in there, it is the stillest place in existence, and there is no movement. It's like being in the center of the hurricane. There's this movement all around us, but there it is absolutely still. And then there's this tiny place that's inside of there, this little tiny place. It's usually, for me, it's only 6 or 7 feet around. It's very small. But it's also talked about as the tiny place of the heart in the ancient writings. And when you step into that place, the vibration moves upward, and this is the place where all of the universes that we know were created, including the one of the stars and the planets that we are in now. and it literally took form and shape there. And then we have now mapped it. We have been given the whole mapping, all the way from once the image is created, exactly how it gets out into the world around the outside of our bodies, and how it becomes what appears to be an external world. It is not an external world. It is an internal world. And this is going to be, at first, a shock to some of us, and then when the memory comes in, we'll remember that this was how it has always been. And there's so much. It's so much to give. I can only give you little bits and pieces of it all. But the way to connect back to the original source of all life everywhere, there is a pathway. There are many pathways, but there is one pathway that has been used over and over and over by many people in this world. It was used by the Great White Brotherhood. It was used by the Hindus. It was used by the Tibetans. It's used by people even in Colombia, and the Arhuacos and the Kogis, and it was also used by the Zulu, and still is. And there's a way that you can use the tip of your tongue to rub it on the roof of your mouth, and when you are inside of your heart space, that reconnects to the thalamus glands. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of this. And when you reconnect to the thalamus gland in this way, the alpha waves begin to fire in the 4 quadrants of your brain in very high levels, and they go into a balance. And when they do, the pineal gland, which is an eyeball, which is hollow and has color receptors in it and has a lens on top of it. This is scientifically fact. It is the third eye. That eye rotates into the direction of where the third eye opening is on the head, and we reconnect with another gland, which is the pituitary gland, which is the chakra itself, which is sitting in that place. And a green light appears inside of our inner vision, and that green light turns into a spiral that connects with that other chakra. And when it does, this energy hits you. It's amazing. And then there's another chakra out in space, out in front of you, which is linked to another gland inside of your brain. And at that moment, when that happens, your head glows, and a halo appears around your head, which science has now photographed and is recorded. And these 8 beams of light that look like cylinders come out of your head and connect to this sphere. And at that moment, your third eye is wide open. And the final step is that you begin to see from your heart, not your brain, not using psychic energy, which is what usually people have been doing, but you see from your heart, and you can now see from a new sense the world that we are so familiar with, and you begin to see all the energies that are all around trees, and these lines of energies that look like roots that are moving between people. And all the communications are opened on all levels, not only between people, but between everyone. We are one living being, one life form, and we are forgotten. We are just cells in a larger body, and what that will become, we will remember this, we will know this beyond any doubt, and this is going to happen any minute now.
You know, traveling with elders, having the privilege of traveling with elders of long lineages of traditional wisdom around the world, taking them to meet one another. One of the things that, there are 2 questions, or 2 things they would always say. One was a question, and that was, who are you?
Yes.
And the second was, you must remember.
Yes.
And so it was interesting because they take us to a place of that, I call it inner-verse, or where they function from the space of we know it all, we just have to remember. Yeah. Versus our system of education is that we don't know anything and we have to study in order to find it. And it's quite a paradox, but the longer I've been on the path, the more truth I find in that.
Yeah, we know everything. Actually, we have the entire Akashic records of every event and every word that has ever been said or ever will be said is all recorded within this tiny space in our heart. and the outer space around that heart. And we know everything. There isn't anything that we don't know, but it's true. It's memory, and our memory was severed when we fell, mostly, but it was never really severed. It was just an illusion, and it's still there, perfectly intact in every single one of you. And no person, no living thing, not only human, but no living thing in existence is going to be left out of this movement that is about to take place here. I'm going to say something now that normally would seem kind of impossible, but I'm going to say this to you, and I mean you as an individual, not as the audience, but you as an individual. And but I mean it exactly in that way, though it's a paradox right now, but when you remember, it won't be a paradox. But this entire universe of all the stars and planets and all the galaxies and all the various dimensional levels and parallel worlds and everything that has been created that is out here right now was created solely and only for you. You are the center of all life everywhere. How can that be? It's hard to understand because we live in polarity, and we see everything as good or bad, or black or white, or up or down, and we can't see the unity of everything. In truth, there is only one spirit, and there is only one universe and one life, and that one spirit moves through everyone and everything, and that's who we are. And so when I say that, I'm talking about not your human personality, I'm talking about who you really are. And that is that what you are, the one spirit, which we call God, and the source of all life everywhere. And now when you say that, and when you see it from that point of view, this whole universe was created only for you.
Ashe. I remember Baba Credo Mufa, one of the other things he said is that, I wanted to end on this and then open up for questions. He said that when we go through this shift, that the people of the stars will return, and when they do, they'll find us worthy.
Yes. Yeah. They are here now. I mean, the lower levels are here now. I mean, it's only the people that ride around in ships are the lower levels. The higher levels don't have to be here. They are here. They are the rocks. They are the trees. They are everything.
Absolutely.